She pressed every button, but the elevator doors refused to shut. She peeked into the hallway, as if something, or someone, was waiting for her just out of sight. Days later, hotel guests began complaining. The water tasted strange. No one knew that high above them, hidden inside a water tank, her body was already there, silent, submerged, and surrounded by mystery. A viral video. A body found where no one should have been. And questions that still have no answers. This is the haunting story of Elisa Lam. And the darkness that still clings to the walls of the infamous Cecil Hotel. Before we dive into the unknown, don't forget to subscribe to True Crimes Now, where the shadows are real and the truth is always stranger than fiction. Elisa Lam was 21. Canadian. Young, thoughtful, and bright-eyed, with a curious heart that craved the world. She wanted adventure. Freedom. Maybe even a little chaos. That's what she wrote, anyway, on her blog. She boarded a train alone and began her trip down the west coast of the U.S. San Diego, Santa Cruz, and then Los Angeles. She checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 28th. A strange choice, maybe. There were better options nearby. Safer ones. But maybe that was part of the thrill. Maybe she didn't know. Or maybe she just didn't care. The lobby cameras caught her arrival. Alone. Backpack slung over one shoulder, clutching a red shopping bag. She looked like any other traveler. Tired, maybe. But calm. That night, she was placed in a shared room on the 5th floor. The other girls complained about her behavior almost immediately. Paranoid. Erratic. Talking to herself. One of them said she had placed a strange note on their bed. The management quickly moved her to a private room. From the outside, it looked like a case of a troubled young woman struggling to find her footing in an unfamiliar city. But what happened next was anything but ordinary. She was last seen alive on January 31st. And then, nothing. No more social media posts. No more calls home. Just silence. Her parents, back in Vancouver, grew worried. Elisa always checked in. Always. They called the police. A missing persons report was filed. Flyers went up across LA. But inside the Cecil, no one seemed to know anything. The LAPD launched an investigation. Officers combed through the building. They searched her room, her belongings. No signs of struggle. No clues. Just a laptop, clothes, some medication, and books. They brought in dogs. The K9 units traced her scent throughout the hotel, but stopped abruptly near a window that led to the fire escape. It was odd, but inconclusive. Time passed. And then something strange happened. Guests at the Cecil began to complain. There was no water pressure. Faucets sputtered weakly, and when they did run, the water was dark. Tasted off. Had a smell that was hard to describe. Some described it as sweet, others said it was rotten. On February 19th, a hotel maintenance worker made his way to the rooftop to inspect the water tanks. The rooftop itself was supposed to be restricted. Locked. Only staff had access. And even then, it wasn't easy. You had to know where to go, know which doors to pass through. And the tanks, large, round metal containers that looked like silent sentinels against the LA skyline, they were sealed. At least, they were supposed to be. He climbed a small ladder. Lifted the heavy lid. And there she was. Floating face up in the dark water. Naked. Pale. Still. Elisa Lam. For 19 days, she had been up there. In the very tanks that fed water to the hotel's rooms. To the guests who had brushed their teeth, taken showers, and brewed coffee. The news hit like a lightning bolt. Who put her there? How did she get to the roof? Why was she undressed? And why had no one seen anything? The LAPD scrambled for answers. The hotel's reputation, already tarnished, dissolved completely in the flood of headlines. The Cecil Hotel was once again the center of a real-life horror story. But then the police released a piece of evidence that changed everything. It was surveillance footage from inside one of the elevators. The video was time-stamped January 31st, Elisa's last known day alive. At first, it seems ordinary. She steps into the elevator in a red hoodie, shorts, and sandals. She presses several buttons. The doors don't close. Then, something shifts. She peers out into the hallway. Leans to the side as if listening for something. Quickly ducks back in. Hides in the corner. Steps out again. Comes back in. She makes strange gestures with her hands. Her movements are frantic. Disoriented. As though she's seeing something we can't. And all the while, the elevator doors stay open. The video went viral. Millions of views. Theories exploded across the internet. Some were grounded in logic. She was off her medication. She was having a psychotic episode. She was lost in her own mind. Others weren't so rational. People said the video was tampered with. That a minute of footage was missing. That someone was following her. That the Cecil's dark past had come alive again. Some believed Elisa Lam wasn't alone in that footage. That someone, or something, was hiding just out of frame. The elevator video had become a digital seance. People across the world watched, rewatched, dissected every second. They slowed it down, enhanced the footage, tracked the pattern of button presses, compared timestamps. Some claimed to see shadows, an arm pulling back at the edge of the frame. Others pointed out the timestamp, how it jumps, how it stutters. Almost as if something had been edited out. But the question remained, why? Why would the police cut part of the footage? Was it to protect someone? Hide something? Or had someone else, someone from the hotel, gotten to it first? Theories took on lives of their own. Elisa was being followed. Elisa was playing the elevator game, a supposed paranormal ritual that, according to internet lore, opens a door to another world if done right. Some said she was possessed. Others claimed she had met someone dangerous, who had lured her to the roof that night. But while the internet hunted ghosts, the coroner released their findings. Cause of death, accidental drowning. No signs of trauma. No drugs or alcohol in her system. Her toxicology report showed traces of her prescribed medication, mood stabilizers, antidepressants, but not all of them. Some were missing, which led investigators to conclude she had likely stopped taking them. Her bipolar disorder was listed as a contributing factor. And that, officially, was the end of it. But nothing about the case felt complete. Because even if you accepted the conclusion that Elisa climbed the fire escape, opened the heavy hatch of a water tank, undressed, and willingly slipped inside, there were still problems. For one, how did she even get onto the roof? The door leading to the rooftop was supposed to be alarmed. If she had opened it, security would have been notified. But no alarms were triggered that night. None of the staff reported hearing anything. That left the fire escape. A rusted metal staircase clinging to the outside of the building like a spine. Yes, she could have climbed it. But it would have taken effort. Focus. Precision. Not easy, especially in the middle of the night, possibly in a psychotic state. Then there was the tank itself. Each one stood roughly 10 feet tall, with no ladder attached to the outside. The maintenance worker had used one to get up. But Elisa? How had she managed that? Even if she somehow made it to the top, she still would have had to lift the heavy, tightly fitted lid, slide inside, and close it behind her, or else it would have been left open. But when she was found, the lid was shut. The worker claimed he had to open it to find her. That detail alone sent the internet spiraling again. Had someone else been there? Someone who followed her? Someone who closed the tank after? No fingerprints. No witnesses. No surveillance of the rooftop. Just more silence. And that silence bred something else. Obsession. People began to dig into the Cecil's past. And what they found only deepened the dread. This was not a place of accidents. It was a place of death. In 1927, a man named Percy Orman Cook shot himself in one of the rooms after failing to reconcile with his wife and child. In the 1930s and 40s, the Cecil became known for suicides, people leaping from its windows, vanishing into the pavement below. In the 1980s, it was home to Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, who stalked and murdered at least 13 people in the LA area, often returning to the hotel afterward, dumping his bloody clothes in the alley. And then there was Jack Unterweger, a journalist turned serial killer who stayed at the Cecil while reporting on LA crime in the 90s. He strangled at least 3 women while living there. The building had changed names. From the Cecil Hotel to Stay on Main. But it couldn't scrub away the history. Or the energy. People said it felt off. Dark. Oppressive. Even the elevator footage seemed to carry that weight. A simple surveillance clip that somehow became a Rorschach test for fear. What do you see? A girl in distress? Or a girl haunted by something no one else could see? Back in Vancouver, Elisa's family mourned. Her parents, overwhelmed with grief, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the hotel, claiming it had failed in its duty to protect guests. That it should have had better security, clearer warnings, restricted roof access. The hotel pushed back. How, they argued, could they have predicted what would happen? How could they be responsible for the actions of a woman they said had no visible signs of distress when she checked in? The case was eventually dismissed. And yet, it didn't end. Because the internet wouldn't let it. Years passed, and still, her story lingered. On forums. In videos. In comment sections and conspiracy threads. Her name became legend, her final moments a puzzle no one could solve. In 2021, Netflix released a documentary about the case. It explored the theories, the hotel's history, and the dangers of internet sleuthing. But even with all that coverage, even with experts and timelines and autopsy reports, there was no definitive closure. Just a sense of something, incomplete. Elisa Lam had been traveling to escape. To find clarity. To connect. And somewhere, on that journey, she disappeared, into a shadow the world is still trying to define. The strangest part of all this, is how familiar it feels. Not the setting, not the hotel, not even the facts. But the feeling. That creeping sense that something isn't right, but no one around you seems to notice. That sense of being watched. Followed. That you're the only one who can see the shadows moving just beyond the light. That was the part people couldn't let go of. Because Elisa's story, whether you believe it was mental illness, accident, or something darker, tapped into a fear deeper than murder or conspiracy. The fear of slipping through the cracks. Of crying out, and no one hearing you. Of needing help, and the world brushing right past. For all the horror and mystery surrounding her death, what stays with people, what haunts them, is that footage. That single moment of strange, silent panic frozen in grainy black and white. It's not violent. It's not loud. It's just a girl in an elevator. Alone. Looking for something, or someone, that never appears. And then she's gone. After her death, the Cecil Hotel shut down for renovations. For a while, it stood quiet. Empty. As if even the building itself needed time to grieve, or to hide. Eventually, it reopened. A new coat of paint. A new name. But no rebranding could wash away the past. Whether Elisa's death was truly an accident, or something much more sinister, is a question that may never be answered. But it's one that still echoes in every hallway, every theory, every whispered conversation between those brave, or curious, enough to keep digging. If this story chilled you, if you felt that knot in your stomach and couldn't look away, don't leave just yet. Subscribe to True Crimes Now for more disturbing, real-world mysteries, told with the depth and darkness they deserve. Hit the like button to help more people uncover the strange, the hidden, and the unsolved.